Hello. Hello. It is Sunday, January 19th. Welcome to the Sunday afternoon stream. Monique is here. Hello, Monique. So happy to have you. And it is unbelievably cold right now. Hang on. We go through this every year in Minnesota. Current temp St. Paul -3. I don't know what that is in Celsius. Let's see here. -19 in Celsius. So yeah, it's really cold, and it's going to be this cold for the next couple of days. Let's look at the 10-day forecasts. So -7 tomorrow, and it'll start to warm up here over the next week or so. Oh my gosh, holy ads. Oh, I guess we have it right here. Yeah, it's really, really cold. So I hope that you all are warm and safe and comfortable wherever you are. Today we are continuing building out this new template that we started last weekend, which is just called the Ocean. And so here is the mock-up. We got quite a bit done yesterday. Not as much as I had hoped, but we got quite a bit done yesterday. We need to do a couple extra things here. So let's just review what we actually did get done. Last weekend, we finished, for the most part, the header. So we have our social media icons on the left. We have a search icon and a hamburger menu on the right. We have our H1 for the home page and some navigation. And none of this is responsive yet. We haven't built the search drawer. We haven't built the off-canvas navigation yet. Let's zoom in a tiny bit. There we go. So we haven't done those things yet. Those are coming. We'll get to those things. I guess when I code, I have a top to bottom approach. I think you should approach this as taking many pass-throughs. So I'm going through and I'm doing a first pass. Well, I think the first pass is that we wrote all of the HTML. Like, that was number one, we wrote the HTML. The second pass was that we started at the top, we're going to work our way down, and we're getting sort of these core styles implemented. We're figuring out how we're going to handle the layout, what CSS we want to use to deal with our grid. I'm not using grid, I'm using Flexbox. So when I say grid, I just mean, I guess, the layout. And sort of establishing those core styles and core features of the layout. As soon as we make our first pass from top to bottom, we'll come back and then we'll start to implement the search drawer and the off-canvas navigation. I have some ideas for what I would like to do with the navigation for desktop. And, the mockup doesn't give us any direction on how to do those things. So to me, I really like that. I like that these mockups sort of give us a place to start, and then we can get creative with how we want to handle things. Initially, I was thinking I would not do drop downs or sub navigation for this navigation, but I actually think that I want to. We do have styles for the off-canvas navigation and the search, so that's good. And then we'll hide the hamburger menu on desktop. Right now it is indicated on desktop, but that will get hidden on desktop once we build out our off-canvas navigation. And we got most of these styles implemented yesterday. They're not perfect. They're not really even responsive at this point. I tend to wait until the end to do responsive styles because I like to get as much implemented on desktop as possible. Just because it's easier to deal with the responsive layout when you have kind of locked in as much as possible on desktop. Not always, but that's the approach that I take. Yeah, so it's pretty darn close. It's looking really good. So let's go back to it here because I was actually kind of admiring it here earlier today. I was like, "Ooh, you look good. I like that." I think this is looking really nice. Um, I'm happy with. I'm not. I'm happy with our link color. I'm not sold on this on the functionality. I think I would like to hover and show the underline. Um, so I'm still sort of thinking about that. I'm happy with our grid and how these things are looking. I'm happy with the social media. One thing I would like to implement is when we hover on a social icon, I think there's a brand colors.net. Is it brand color? Yes, brand colors. So as an example, Pinterest. So this is Pinterest red. So when you hover on the Pinterest icon, the hover color would be the Pinterest brand color. Same with Instagram. What is the official Instagram? It's not, there's not going to be an official Instagram color. So Instagram uses a spectrum, basically a rainbow. So maybe we could just pick one of these as a hover color. Um, let's see what LinkedIn is. I know it's blue, but this is great because it gives us kind of the official blue color. So we're going to do this too. We're going to implement like branded hovers colors for the social media icons. I have other ideas about maybe doing like a kind of a zoom hover effect, things like that, but I really want to get to finishing this layout first. And it looks like Lena is also here. Lena, hello. Thank you for joining us. We're always happy to have you. I hope you're staying warm. I think you're in Germany, so I hope you're staying warm in Germany. I know you're not here for this, but this is my first handmade garment. I made a crochet granny square sweater vest. I'm very proud of it. I finished this over the holiday break, and if you are lucky enough to own any garments that are wool, or to get your hands on a natural fiber like wool, it is very cozy. I mean, it is the coziest thing you will ever wear because it's not too hot, it's breathable, but it's also very warm. It's amazing. So, just very, very proud of my creation. So, okay, so I'm gonna zoom back out here. Oh, Germany is very cold right now. Yeah, it is in Minnesota right now too. So stay warm. Stay warm, Lena. And I think Monique is on the East Coast. Isn't the East Coast also getting hit with a lot of storms? Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. Okay, so this is the final thing we have two things to style here in our main content area, which is this full width item, which is this right here. This right here. And then we also need to style our pagination down here at the bottom. And then we're going to jump into the sidebar. So let's do this first, which is, now the way I wrote the CSS for this, let's collapse the header, collapse the hero. Here's our full width image only. I put the H2 first before the image, even though in the layout it's the image and then the H2. So this is something that we always want to be mindful of, is does the DOM match the layout? I know, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because in Lena's code review, I pointed that out as something that I thought she should perhaps adapt, right? That we want to have, we want, when we have a screen reader going through, we want the screen reader to read the DOM in the order that the layout also appears. I am going to say though that because this title overlays, hang on, where's my mouse? Come on. I'm having mouse issues lately. Here we go. Because this title overlays the image, I am going to keep it in the DOM first because it's, even though it's at the bottom of the image, it is still stacked over the image. So I think that there isn't a hard and fast rule on this. I think it's a best practice, and I think that as long as you have a rationale for the decisions that you make, you can do whatever works for you. This is the decision I'm making for this. So just wanted to point that out. Let's find our CSS file. And we'll make this a little bigger. Oh, and just one moment here. Okay. So we have blog item. Let me see here. That's not it. It's right here. We have blog item full width image only. So this is already getting all of the styles of blog item, which are sort of the core, more design type styles. Full width are the layout styles. Image only is how we're going to position the H2 over top of the image. So let's find, here's blog item. Here's another half width style, and then beneath this we'll do another half width, and we'll do and dot, and that kind of chains those together, and this is image only. And we're going to say position relative. Is this already position relative by chance? Blog item. I don't think so. Half width, no. Okay, it's not position relative. It's not spelled correctly. It's all right. And then we're going to do the figure, which is position absolute. And there are other ways to do this. This is the way I'm choosing to do it. I think absolute positioning can be a little bit aggressive, but if you're comfortable with it, it's totally appropriate. It's a totally appropriate way to handle things like this. Oh, and this is the wrong thing. We actually want the secondary heading. And Lena says, I already updated my portfolio, by the way. I also downloaded the Chrome extension for the Wave Web Accessibility Evaluations tools. It's pretty cool. It is very cool. I don't use it often enough. Good for you, Lena. I'm glad that the code review was helpful, because that is the purpose of it, right? It's to feel more confident and to feel like we're learning and getting better. So good. I'm glad that that was helpful. I think accessibility can be really overwhelming. I mean, that's my experience. I'm getting better at it. I think it can be a lot though sometimes. So let's say bottom 0, and then I'm going to say inset 0. So somebody in the chat yesterday told me that inset 0 is the shorthand equivalent of defining top, bottom, left, right. So that's, learned something new there yesterday. But I don't, I want to do bottom 0, but I actually want to do left, right. I'm going to do left 50%, and then I'm going to do transform, translate on the x-axis negative 50%, which should pull it back halfway. And then I think it also needs to have a background color of black, and the text color should be, no, the background color should be white, and the text color should be black, which is the default. And we might, it's already display block, so we probably have to give this a width of, we could say a width of maybe 25 characters. Let's see how this goes. Oh, and we are not doing our Sasquatch yet. And I think we need some Z index. There it is. And pretty close. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're definitely going to need some padding. Yeah, we're definitely going to need some padding. And I feel like the text needs to be smaller. Like the font size needs to be smaller. So let's do font size 1.25 rems. I think right now it's 2 rems. Let's give it some padding. One rem on the top and bottom, 2 on the left and right. Let's increase the character count to 35 characters. That's better. I think it's a little small. And then let's get rid of this pseudo class. Just for the image only heading. So here we had, for secondary heading, we added a pseudo class afterward, which is that border, that line. So we'll do after and I'm just going to say border none. We'll see if that works. There we go. And I think there's margin we need to get rid of here as well. There we go. Oh, there's something else happening here. What's going on? Oh, this still has, should we just say display none? There we go. Okay, we just need to push it down a little bit more. So let's do bottom. So if we change this to bottom, what's a good way to do this? Bottom 0 means the bottom sits at 0. If we do like negative 25 pixels, we're gonna have to push this down a little bit more. There, that works. 40 characters, and we know that we want it to be between 40 and 70 characters. Yeah, that works. So we'll say bottom negative 50 pixels, and the width will be 40 characters. And then we just need to make sure that this has enough margin on the bottom to push everything else down. So let's do margin bottom 3 rems. A little more. A little bit more. Maybe 5. There, that works. Could maybe use a little more padding. Let's just do 3 all the way around. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I think it's pushed down a little more. That extra padding. All right, I'm going to stop there because I could tinker all afternoon with that. So Lena says, I want to improve my knowledge of accessibility because starting mid-year, all companies in Germany will be required to prioritize it. That is interesting. So in the United States, accessibility, digital accessibility is considered part of the Americans with Disabilities Acts. It's not like it's not a crime to not do it, but you could, it's a cause of action for civil litigation, especially if you're a nonprofit organization, like the organization I work for is a nonprofit university. But if your digital assets aren't accessible, you are liable to civil litigation for violating the Americans with Disabilities Act. So, I think it's always good when you're not excluding entire groups of people, right? And if nothing else, what's the saying? Where there's an audience, there's a market. Why would you want to exclude a group of people? They might be just begging to hand you their money, right? And so violations, is this the right English word? I think it is, can cost up to 100,000 euros. Yeah, so it's in our best interest to prioritize accessibility, but I think if we've learned, my takeaway from things like the Web A Million is that organization finds the same 6 accessibility issues every year. And they're, in my opinion, very easy to fix. So yes, accessibility can be overwhelming, but if you have a solid handle on some core foundational skills, you have a basic understanding of HTML5, and you know what the biggest problems are, it's doable. It's very doable. We can do this, people. We can do this. So I'm glad that you're taking it seriously, Lena. And yeah, I mean, I don't think there's no reason to not take it seriously. It can be complex, but it's not that hard. We can do it. So, okay, this is looking good. I like this. I think this has a little, I don't think it needs quite this much. What's going on here? So let's take the we go. Yeah, I'm good with this. I like it. I like it. And I forgot to wrap all of these things in anchors. Although maybe we don't need to. Maybe just the title could be an anchor and then continue reading could be an anchor. We'll go back and deal with that when we work on the responsiveness. So let's get our pagination implemented, and let's also make sure that we have, let's see here, here's half width, here's half width. Let's add 2 more of these at the bottom. There we go. Yeah, the grid looks really nice. I like it. All right, here's our pagination, which I went ahead and put in an unordered list. Here is what it should look like. So I think we just need to grab some arrows. I have one arrow that points to the right. We need one that points to the left. So let's grab one. And we'll make our SVGs ARIA hidden true so they don't get read out by the screen reader. That's the forward, that's the back. They're a little big, but that's okay. So older, newer. Okay. Let's see here. I've got some styles already for SVGs. Let's see if we can borrow some styles. Right here. What is the text? It's the cabin text. I kind of think we can just borrow this all together. I think this is, what is this? Here's the hero. There's the blog layout. There's the blog item. Yeah. Blog pagination. take the margin and the padding off of the UL. And then we've got a pagination item. Well, I think that would be this right here. But we don't need this, but we do need text transform, uppercase, and we'll do a little letter spacing, 1 pixel. There we go. Look at that. Now we just need to get those lined up. So this is the, hang on, let's just put them next to each other. It's okay. They can be next to each other. I have short-term memory. I cannot remember I cannot look at something and 2 seconds later remember it. I have to have it next to me. Okay, so, that's why that didn't work. And then we want list style type none. And then we want the LIs to be lined up next to each other. So I'm just going to say display, probably can just do a display inline block. Older is on the wrong side. There we go. Let's take off that underline, text transform. Text decoration, none. Then we need to get these. Oh, we don't need that. Okay. I think I can just, can we just do text align center here? Yes, we can. All right, we just need to put a little bit of space in between them. So let's just add some margin on either side. Honestly, we should probably just do margin all the way around. Well, we can push that whole container down. So we'll do, I'll do 0 margin on the top and bottom, and I'll do 2 rems of margin on the left and right, and that should push them apart. Yeah, that looks great. And then let's push this down. We'll give blog pagination some margin on the top. So we'll just say margin top, 3 rems. That look like it's pushed down well enough? Maybe a little more. Oh, you're not getting any margin. Because I have margin 0 on that container. Maybe we can just do this. There we go. We just needed a little more specificity. All right. I love it. I don't think this is quite aligned. Do you see how this arrow is just a little bit, it's not quite in the middle. Let's see if we can adjust that. I mean, that's better. Text top. We'll go with that. Yeah, that looks great. I love it. Clearly, we're not responsive yet. Our grid is breaking when we're zoomed in. So we're going to take care of all of that. My brain cannot do everything on the first pass. It just can't. It's just so much easier for me to get the major parts of the layout implemented. Hang on, what are we doing here? And then go back and do refinement steps. So if you're a developer who can do everything on the first pass, my brain can't handle it. I get too anxious. All right. Yeah, it looks great. I should really go to Unsplash and choose some custom photos. I'm really liking this though. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's our pagination. Okay, let's get started on this sidebar. So the first item in the sidebar is about me. So everything in the sidebar has a border. We have an uppercase title with our serif font, which is called Gelasio. There's this border, which is a dashed border. So we could use a pseudo class after to position that. And that's the consistent theme for the title, so we should write that style once. Every item has a border with about a rem of padding, it looks like. So that's a style we could implement. So let's start with those couple of things. So here's the main, and I have a sidebar layout style here. I'm actually going to take this and we're going to put this in its own style sheet. Sidebar right here. Here's our footer. Where's our sidebar? Here it is. Okay, so let's do sidebar item first. Sidebar item has a border of, we'll say 1 pixel, solid, and gray. And gray is this color right here. This is like kind of my standard light gray color. It's definitely not accessible when it comes to text contrast, but I find this to be a good color for light borders. So we'll start with this, and if we need to change it, we can. And then our titles it would be a sidebar heading and a tertiary heading. So I'm going to nest that under sidebar item because I think that's going to be pretty unique to the sidebar. And this is font family. Let's see here. Just not remembering. Right here, Gelasio. And this is a serif font. I'm going to do font size 1 rem. Text transform is uppercase. Letter spacing 1 pixel. We'll see how that looks. Yeah, we're getting there. And we'll do padding 1 rem. Oh, we might want to do 2 rems, and we definitely need to put some margin on the bottom. Margin bottom. We'll do 2 rems of margin on the bottom as well. There we go. That border looks a little light, doesn't it? Let's try to make that, let's make it a little darker. So we'll do dark gray. What's a good dark gray? Like DDD? No, that's arguably lighter. Maybe, let me think. 666, 777. Yeah, let's try that. Too dark. I know. Let's look at the mock-up and see what that color is. Yes. Yes, if you're working for an agency, you should always refer to your mock-up, which I am arguably bad at doing. Let's see here. So here's the about me. Okay, what's that stroke? Black. No, it's not. It's got to have some opacity on it. What's the effect? Let's see here. E5, E5, E5. I mean, that seems lighter than EA. But that's what it is. Okay. All right, we're going to go with it. I mean, okay, we'll go with it. And then we need to take there's margin on this heading. Pretty sure. Yeah. So let's take the top margin off the heading. Margin top. There we go. And then our figure. So let's see what this looks like 16 to 9 to me, and I'm going to go with that. So inside the sidebar item, we have the image. And we're going to say position, relative, width 100%, height, auto, aspect ratio 16 to 9. And then we'll do our image is going to be position absolute. Oh, stop. Autocomplete, you're killing me. Absolute. Inset 0. Width 100%. Height 100%. Object fit is cover. There we go. Look at that. And this text is center justified, which is not my favorite. I don't like to center justify. You know, it's one thing to center justify, like these are all center justified. But to take a block of text and center justify it, to me, I don't like the look of that. It looks a bit lazy design-wise. So I'm not going to center justify this. But we can center justify our titles to get those looking the way they should. So we'll go back to our tertiary heading. This is text align center. And then we'll do an after pseudo class. Content. Whoops. Yeah, we'll have to make this position relative. And I think we also are going to want to give this a background color of white. This will be position absolute. Oh, autocomplete. We'll do inset. Autocomplete. Inset 0. Width 100%. I'm going to say border bottom 1, well, probably 2 pixels dashed. And I'll do dark gray, same as the border. Oh, and this is inset's probably not going to work because I need to be able to adjust the bottom. Actually, let's do border top and then top 50%. And I think that'll just push it down 50% of the container. Let's see if that works. Yeah, sort of. Left 0. There we go. We just need to tuck it up behind Z index. So Z index -1 should put it right behind it. Oh, it put it all the way behind it because the H3 is block level. right here. The H3 is block level, that's why. So I think we can make this, if we make this display inline block, and then we could do margin left 50%, and then we can translate on the x-axis -50. Oh, that's not what I want. -50%. So this is 100% of this, and I changed the width on this. You know what we could do is we could just put, honestly, we could just put a span after. I feel like I've done this before. The H3 is a block level element, so it doesn't really matter if I change it to display inline block or change the width. Since I'm using a pseudo class, it's always going to be the width of this parent. Let me think about this for a second. We don't have to have, it doesn't have to be a pseudo class. We could just put in like, we do need to change this H3 to inline block. We have to change the width. So it's not display block. I feel like I've done this before. I know I've done this before. Wait, I just did this yesterday. How did I do this yesterday? Where is this? So here's blog links. Here's the nav. This is the pseudo class on the parent container. And then this is this. Okay, so the difference is that I don't have a parent container for this. The title, the H3 is the parent container. The grandparent container is the entire container. So let's just put a span. We could just put a span here. That is perfectly fine. Class, let's call it dashed border. See, class names where you never wonder what they are. So I'm going to take this. But I think we can just make it position relative and push it up, right? Yeah. And then this does not need to be position relative, but this does need to be display inline block. Text align center won't work then, but that's okay. And then we can do margin left 50%, and then we will translate on the x-axis minus 50%. And then we'll do the dashed border. And technically this would just be position relative. Position relative. It comes after, so it would, if it got pushed up, I think this has to be on top. I think this has to be on top. So, and then it can get pushed down. We'll say top, I don't know, 10 pixels. We can adjust it. Where are you? Why didn't that work? Oh, we have to change the, just change it to display block. Let's just make it a div. Look at that. We're so close. Okay. Background color. Is it on top? Does it need to be on the, I think it needs to be on the bottom. Yeah, I think I got that backwards. And then this would be -15 pixels. We're so close. We're so close. I think this just needs a little bit of padding. Let's just do padding on the left and right. There we go. Yeah, I'm good with that. Okay, so we put padding on the left and right. This was 30. And then this has all right. Perfect. Yeah, this works better when this border is independent of the header. You could put the h3 and the div in the same container. I think it just starts to get so weird when you use a pseudo class to put some sort of a border behind something that's already a block level element, because when you change it to inline block and then you try to do it just gets a little weird. And you could change the width to be greater than 100%, but it just, yeah, I think this is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with adding this extra border here. So let's make sure that we have that on the rest of the sidebar. This is spelled wrong. And that should apply right away. And now we have our headings. Let's make this a little bigger so we can see it. Yeah, that looks great. Subscribe and follow, Instagram. Categories. Nice. I like it. This looks a little, might need some adjusting. So here's our about me. Let's, where are we doing for time? About an hour. Let's go ahead and we'll style this form input and button, and then I think that's where I'm going to call it for today. Let's go ahead, and I think I did a separate form. Let's see. Here it is. All right. So here's our label. I don't think we have a label. We do not. So we'll go ahead and put a class on this called access hidden, and we already have CSS written for that. That hides things in a screen reader friendly way. So there we go. Now we just have placeholder text and a button. And I'm just using a button inside of a form action. So let's do input. We probably want to do some specificity. So we'll do input type equals text, input type equals email, input type equals telephone, input type equals password, whoops, input type equals text, email, telephone, password. What else is there? I just need a list. URL, number. Okay, we'll do URL and number. And we'll say background color, white. I think the border around the inputs looks exactly the same as the border around the sidebar items. So we'll say border, 1 pixel, solid, dark gray. And we'll give it a little bit of padding, 1 rem. Looks good. We'll say width 100%. That should put the button and the input on their own line. Very good. And then the button is also 100%. And I'm going to put the entire thing inside of a class called form, just to give it a little bit of specificity, especially really for the benefit of that button, because we've got other button styles, and I just want this these styles that I write for this button now to be just for buttons for any forms, because I haven't really defined any like actual button styles. I've defined existing button functionality. Oh, thank you, Monique. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're getting there, right? I think I sometimes think to myself, gosh, is this too boring to live stream? I don't think it is. That's just me. I think the whole point of these live streams is to show that this is how you do it. You got to practice. You got to just like set aside time to like practice and translate. So, and I think it's fun. I think it's fun. I'm actually going to give this a class of subscribe. I'm not going to give this a class of button. Well, I will give it a class of button, but I'm going to use subscribe because I haven't decided on any button styles. So we'll say width 100%, padding 1 rem, background color, I'm just going to say that kind of lightish gray color. I think the color is already black. Border, we should probably give this a nice hover style. So let's do border, 2 pixels, solid, also gray. Look at that. And it's a little smaller and it's all uppercase. And I gave it a, let's do 1 pixel to match. And then let's give this margin bottom 1 rem. There we go. Text transform uppercase, and then letter spacing 1 pixel. Look at that. And then let's go ahead and do a hover. So we'll say hover active focus, and we'll do a transition all 300 milliseconds, and I generally do ease in out. And I'm going to transition the background color and the color, which means that I actually need to give this a color. Even though it already has one, it has to have one in order to transition. So you have to define it again, even if it's already defined on a parent level container. Anytime you transition a color, it has to be defined on that element. So we're going to transition the background color from gray to black. And then we're going to transition the color to white. Oh, and we also need to transition the border color. And I think we can just do the border color from gray to black. There we go. Look at that. And then let's give that, let's do a cursor, because buttons by default do not change cursor. So we can give it a cursor, change it to a pointer. Look at that. I love it. Yeah, I think the text, this text is a little bit smaller, but I'm not going to go smaller than 1 rem, which is 16 pixels. And we can make sure that this is, we'll make sure that this is, what? Oh, you're not going to open up? Yep, that meets our contrast ratio. Good. Good, good. Yeah, I love it. Looks great. All right. Well, I don't know if I got as much done this weekend as I thought I would, but we definitely made progress on this. So next weekend on Saturday, we will finish this sidebar and we will finish the footer. That's the goal for Saturday next weekend. That to me is a doable goal. And then I want to kind of go back up to the top, and I want to work out some more details with our navigation, and we need to build this search drawer. And then once we get the navigation, both the desktop navigation, the off-canvas navigation for mobile, and the search drawer done, then we're going to start to make sure that everything is responsive. So again, we'll do that top to bottom approach to make sure everything is responsive. And then I want to start to add in sort of like transitions and animations, because we did a stream a couple weeks ago where we used JavaScript to delay animate.css transitions on scroll, and that worked beautifully. I was so happy with how well that worked, so I want to do that again. That's an easy thing to do, but I also want to do some things because the images I think are so nice on this template. It's a very minimalist template, even though the layout is does have some complexity. I want to do just a subtle zoom hover when you hover on some of these images. Like these 3 things should all be just like one big link, right? Or each thing is one big link. Um, yeah, we could even do when you hover on continue reading, it uh, triggers a transition on the image. I don't know. There's no real indication of this what the functionality should be in the mockup, which I think gives us a lot of freedom to experiment and play and try out a few techniques. So I hope that this was enjoyable, insightful, interesting. Um, I like working on these, and I'm having a lot of fun working on this particular mock-up. It's been in my collection for a long time, and that's my goal for 2025 is to just work my way through some of these mock-ups that I've had and I've never had a chance to build, and then, turn that into content for you guys. So I think that's, oh, Roman's here. Hello, Roman. Good to see you. Happy to have you. Yeah, so we'll be back again next weekend. We'll pick up where we left off. And it takes as long as it takes, right? I think we're about 7-ish hours into this template. So if we looked at this from the perspective of like a work day, this would be a more than acceptable amount of work to get done in one day, right? If you think about that in terms of a work day. So even though it's going to take several weekends for us to get there, I think it's moving along very smoothly. And my plan is for 2025 also to take the streams, because the streams are very project based. They span several weekends. And I've recorded all of them. So I have the recordings in addition to what gets saved as a live stream on YouTube. My plan is to go back, lightly edit, and release basically a compilation or a complete project video for the entire project all at once. So that's on my to-do list for 2025 to be able to do that. I think this is the perfect type of content to combine and edit and put together and do some good tight editing, right? So, we don't have to force people to listen to the tangents and things like that. So, oh, Roman, he says, I haven't been on your stream for a long time. I'm sorry. I'm currently working on a portfolio. There is no apology necessary, Roman. You come whenever it is convenient for you. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm happy to have you whenever it works for you. I'm happy to have anybody who decides to tune in and hang out with me and sit in the chat. Some streams are a little quieter than others, and that's fine. Do whatever works for you. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Stay warm and safe this week. It is so cold outside, and hope you're having a great day wherever you are. I will see you in my next one. Bye-bye.